This episode today, gosh, I'm so passionate about it. It's something I've really tapped into significantly this year. And it's really around mindset. And it's a buzzword, right? But what I want to pose to you in this episode today is that you can either live in your desired future state today, or you can do what most people do, which is live 80 to 90% of their day and their life in the past, through revisiting, stressing, and thinking through situations of the past, making their life future their concerns of the past. So listen in today as you can hear how I have learned some incredible science, especially as a PharmD, just being really nutty about the science around how mindset actually affects us physiologically, and how by the end of this episode, I hope you are inspired that you can literally think your way out of the scenario you're in today if you're willing to do the work being the buzzword. Hope you guys enjoy this. Hey friend, Melissa Hinault here with the Burnout to All Out podcast. I'm a former multiple six-figure executive corporate burnout, feeling stuck in the life I built for myself. But using my corporate skills, I took to the internet and have built multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses, showing others how they can build a life they love. Now, on this podcast, I share stories of being an entrepreneur, a mom to my 3 amazing kids, and wife to my wonderful and supportive husband who supports all my wild and crazy dreams. My journey is taking grit and persistence and belief. And believe me, I'm still a work in progress that you may witness in real time, whether it's in our free Burnout to All Out Facebook community, or inside my mastermind, or even in my coaching programs, or maybe just right here on the podcast. I'm laughing and I'm crying with you. I've become a serial entrepreneur with a passion to inspire more burnouts to take the leap of faith and go all out and live out their dreams. Consider me your mentor in your head and on the go. So let's get started. You guys, welcome to my episode today around mindset. I've been doing a personal deep dive with Dr. Joe Dispenza and studying a lot of his work. And I'm so excited to bring to you today just some core concepts that I think that all business owners should be aware of and tuned into. The reality is I get super geeked out about this stuff, given that I am a doctorate of pharmacy. I studied Western medicine, really. We didn't spend a lot or any time on mindset and how mindset can actually change your body physiologically. That's actually what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how you can either live your future physiologically today, or you can live your past today. The choice is yours. And I hope by the end of this, I can really inspire you to take radical action to live the life you love and think and meditate the life you love and manifest it. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. You can think your way to a better future, but it takes practice and it takes work. Those 2 key words, practice and work. We're going to talk a lot about this today. And it's funny even hearing myself say it, because 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said that is so woo-woo and so bullshit, right? But I hadn't done the work to actually study physiologically how mindset manifests physically in our body. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So if you're like, okay, Melissa, this is way too woo-woo. You're talking about thinking your way to a better future. Listen on, because I was a critic too. The principles I'm teaching you guys today allowed me to manifest over $100,000 in less than 30 days in December because I focused on it and saw it. And we'll talk about that. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. And I'm going to get into some nitty-gritty science, okay? And definitely feel free to go look at Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural. It's an incredible book that really gets into the weeds of the science behind this. But here's the deal. When we perceive a threat, that we cannot control in the future, right? Which is stress and anxiety about the future. Our primitive nervous system, called that sympathetic nervous system, it turns on and the body mobilizes enormous amounts of energy in response to the stress. Okay. So even though it's not even actually happening, the act of thinking about it, a future that doesn't exist or a past that's already happened, we elicit enormous amounts of energy in response to stress. And you know what I'm talking about. When is the last time you had a thought, you got an email or a text, and it hit you the wrong way, and immediately your mind started to race and you felt your heart increase? You felt a tingle in your body or your brain. You felt that what I call vasoconstriction, where your body, like your blood vessels just like tighten up, getting ready to fight or fly, right? And then your thoughts get really scattered. I know you know what I'm talking about. It's that primitive response to unnecessary stress that actually does not exist, but we're stimulating fight or flight response in our bodies. Do you know when this happens, circulation moves out of your rational forebrain and it's relayed to that hindbrain? So we have less capacity to even think creatively and instead rely more on that instinct or instantly react. This is nature's way of responding to crisis. Now, here's the thing. The good news is quick bursts of this are important to get us out of really scary scenarios where if you're getting robbed and you need to get out of a situation like the episode you guys recently heard, that is great. We need bursts. But when the body does not return for hours or days or just never ending, we never return to a balanced state. Now, remember what I said earlier, when we're shunting the brain, when we're shunting the blood from our forebrain to our hindbrain, we can't think as creatively. When you're living in a state of chronic stress and worry about a future that doesn't exist, you literally are suffocating your brain from being able to think creatively to get yourself out of the situation you're in today if you're not liking where you are, right? So here's the thing, because of our large brains, we as humans can relive the past over and over and over again. How many of you have some trauma or something in the past, even recent, that you just keep reliving and going back to? We think about our problems over and over again, unnecessary like problems of the future, things that you're worried about. Am I going to hit my sales numbers? Am I going to get enough clients in, right? Is this going to work, right? But we're not thinking about the current moment. You're literally putting stress on your body about a future that doesn't exist or reliving the past. Many times we're forecasting worst case scenarios in the future, right? Gosh, and the reason I'm speaking to this is because I've lived it, guys, and I still live it and have to practice what I teach. Before every launch, my heart starts to race, my mind starts to wonder, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what if this one isn't good? What if we don't bring in enough clients? And I have to catch myself and say, you, Melissa, are thinking about a negative future that doesn't exist. Why can't you think about the best case scenario? So we're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay. So when we do this consistently, thinking about worst case scenarios, reliving the past, we actually knock our brains and bodies out of normal physiology just by thinking about the past or trying to control or predict an unpredictable future. You guys wonder how some of these really high level business owners and entrepreneurs are so successful? It's because they've mastered the motor between their ears, right? The most successful business owners I know all have business psychologists or mindset coaches to keep them on the straight and narrow, because we all fall off the track and start thinking about things that aren't real. And what are the self-coping mechanisms to pull yourself back on the train and continue forward? Because he who has the ability to control his thoughts, he wins. she wins. She rises to the top because she can control her destiny through controlling her mind. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. We can literally trigger a cascade of stress chemicals in our body, wreaking havoc on our health. Said by Dr. Joe Dispenza, he says, I'm going to quote, emotions are the chemical consequence of the past. Our senses record incoming information from the environment, and then clusters of neurons create organized networks. Here's the thing. The more you relive it, the more positive a feedback loop you give to the neuronal response. By reliving and reliving and reliving it in your mind, you are literally creating a massive positive feedback loop and triggering and initiating chemical responses that elicit stress in your body to prepare to fight. Even you're literally living out your past physically. You're living it out by continually thinking through it. Guys, I'll give you a classic example for myself and how I've had to, thank goodness I've been working on this over this past year. I'll share with you how it played out. 2 years ago, I was hacked. My Facebook account, amongst many things, were taken away from me. As an online entrepreneur, that is devastating. Devastating. Now, it was devastating enough 2 years ago. It was a baby business. I hadn't even made 20 grand on it yet. Okay. It was devastating. Okay. This past Monday, I got an email from Facebook telling me I had 48 hours to respond, click on a link because of some copyright infringement, that they were going to shut down my business account. What do you think happened? What do you think happened when I got that email? My primitive brain took over immediately. My heart started to race. My palms got sweaty. My whole body started to tingle. I started to shorten my breath, was taking really light breaths, and I was freaking the F out because all I was doing in that moment was reliving my 2 years previous. And now my mind was going to, this is not a $20,000 a year business now. This is $1 million a year business. How could they close my account? How am I going to move forward? And I caught myself within 30 to 45 seconds. And I said, Melissa, you are living out a past that does not serve you. And you are worried about a future that does not exist. I had to catch myself, and literally within 15 to 20 seconds, I was able to take deep breaths, reframe, redirect my mindset, and tell myself, what is the best case scenario here? The best case scenario is that this email was sent to me. My Facebook account is not even connected to this email address. The email that came to me looks really fishy. Why would Facebook be asking me to click on this link? Melissa, this is a phishing con. This has nothing to do with your past. This has nothing to do with your future. Your nervous system is primed to think that way. Don't let it take you over. Guys, breath work and redirecting my mindset changed my entire day from being destroyed and concerned and perseverating and living the past to changing my vibration, flicking it off, laughing at it, and choosing not to click on it. It was a joke, right? These self-coping mechanisms and self-awareness of when you're beginning to elicit chemistry and vital sign changes in your body due to stress, being able to catch that, guys, it doesn't happen overnight. It is, I said in the beginning, it is a practice that we work on, right? And over the year, I've been able to learn as an entrepreneur, there are really big highs and there are really big lows. And you have to be able to pull your mind out of the gutter and into a positive future to propel you forward and literally, we're going to talk about this, create the blood chemistry necessary to elicit the hormonal responses and genetic expressions that make you a healthy, happy, resilient person that's living in the future versus making themselves sick in the past. Okay? Let's just talk about chemistry, blood chemistry, and how it literally changes us. Our thoughts can literally change our body's response. When you repeatedly recall an experience in the past, you are unintentionally anchoring your brain and body to the past. Just like when I got that email, instead of taking it at face value for what it was, a phishing scam, my body jolted me backwards into the past unintentionally, anchoring me to that neuronal pathway that had been that circuitous event 2 years ago that I lived over and over and over again for months until I got the hackers completely out of everything, right? You literally change your chemistry and put your body under undue stress, living a reality that isn't true, which is exactly what happened to me on Monday. Until within a minute, less than a minute, I was able to recognize it and take action. The same can be said for a negative future, right? Which is where my head went. I thought about the bad past, which threw me into a tailspin, and those hormones and negative responses in my body then propelled me to a negative future, freaking out about what was to come. Are you struggling to generate leads on Facebook and Instagram? Do you want to attract and close more high-quality leads without having to rely on ads and the hustle of Instagram and Facebook? Most service-based online business owners are stuck trying to build their audiences and launches using overly saturated Facebook groups, ads, and DMing strategies, and they are struggling. But there's a better place and way to connect with ideal clients. It's on LinkedIn. You guys, you know me, Melissa Hinault. I've tapped into the power of LinkedIn to generate leads and grow 6- and 7-figure businesses online. We just hit 6 figures just last month, and 80% of our 6-figure sales were from organic leads, not from ads. I teach all types of business owners how to attract and close their ideal clients with ease. I'm hosting a free masterclass where I'm teaching how to generate thousands of high-quality leads on LinkedIn without paying a fortune with Facebook ads and without exhausting yourself trying to stand out in a saturated market. Imagine generating warm leads instead of cold ones with ads, resulting in a higher conversion rate. Imagine marketing to an audience with the money mindset and the income to invest in what you have to offer. Register for free today at our website, www.burnouttoallout.co. That's www.burnouttoallout.co, or jump into my free Facebook community, Burnout to All Out, and just make a post in there and say, hey, I need a concierge. Get me signed up for this next workshop. Can't wait to see you on the back end. Next up, I'd love for you to just listen to some of our clients currently in the Academy and listen to how they're winning with our strategies.
It's the community. Oh my God. I mean, I cannot even tell you, besides Melissa and Jessica and Jackie and Amanda, it's my pod. It's people that I am on these audits with. I mean, I have made friends, like really good friends with some people. I have an accountability partner that we are together, people in Australia, people in Canada. It's to be with like-minded people who have the same views about direct sales and network marketing and additional income, second streams of income. It's so inspiring. I leave these audits and workshops just feeling so positive about myself and about my business.
If you guys do not believe that what you think can trigger physiological responses in your body, let me take you through some exercises. I want you to envision a juicy yellow lemon sitting on the counter, cold and fresh, right out of the refrigerator, bright yellow. I want you to envision I take a knife, I run it along the rind of the lemon, and I slice it in half, and then I slice a quarter out of it. And I want you to envision that wedge of a lemon with the juice beginning to drip down that sliced piece. And I want you to envision just taking a nice big old bite into that lemon. Now, if your mouth isn't watering right now and tingling with the physiological response of a lemon, then I don't know what to tell you, because that is my example of how your mind just elicited a physiological response. Another great example is, if any of you love buffalo wings like I do, how many of you, before you take a bite into the wing, when they bring it to the table and you smell the buffalo wing sauce, your mouth starts to water? That is your brain, my friend, anchoring into the past experience and the neurological pathways associated with that, eliciting a physiological response, which is the mouth watering, which is the same as a racing heart when you're stressed about something, right? We literally turn on and off critical components of our bodies, our organs, and cells when we think a certain way. How we think and how we feel can get us biologically stuck in the past, making you feel worse and worse, not to mention that your energetic vibration will be extremely low, which becomes what you attract. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a coaching call with a client when they're just completely down in the dumps, shoulders slumped, no eye contact, and they can't figure out why they're not getting any leads. They just feel like there's zero self-worth, that there's no future ahead in what they're doing. They're telling themselves that story, and they're living out their manifested future by thinking that is what they deserve. And not only that, and we talk about this all the time, what you put out, you attract. If you're operating at a low vibration, that is going to come right back at you. You are going to attract those in a low vibration. Speaking of energy and vibration, let's talk about energy reserve. Let's talk about energy reserve. Okay, around mindset. When our fight or flight response is switched on and stays on because of chronic stress, I want you to think about this. Your body is using all its reserve to deal with all the constant perceived threats from our outer environment. Okay? The body has no energy left in its inner environment for growth, for repair, for a compromising immune system, for clouding your mind to lose focus and execution. You have no energy left to think yourself out of the problem or dilemma you're in, because all you can see is that you're stuck. And when you tell yourself you're stuck, you will stay stuck. Versus what I love to say, that you are just simply at a stopping point until you get enough information to move forward. See the difference? See the reframe? Guys, I can't make this stuff up. It's incredible. How many of you have had emotionally exhausting scenarios that you have literally drained the emotions out of yourself? And it's, on any given day, you hit the pillow like so quickly because you're so exhausted. And you may even ask yourselves, gosh, I didn't even exercise today. Why am I so tired? You need to ask yourself, where is your mindset? Is it in the gutter? I mean, beyond the nutrition and health of like a lot of other things that can impact your sleep, if everything else is good and you're exhausted at the end of the day, where is your mind? What do you believe you're capable of? What are you visualizing? Where do you know you're headed? Right? Where is your mindset today? Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is genetic expression. So this is where I get really geeked out. Science is telling us that chronic long-term stress, okay, it pushes the genetic buttons that create disease through this initial trigger of stress hormones that create a cascade of events. It's really kind of interesting. We only use about 1% of our DNA at any given time. And we have the power to literally turn them on and off through thoughts and movement and nutrition. See, genes don't create disease. Environment signals the gene to create the disease. We're seeing it over and over and over again with people who have these chronic illnesses like fibromyalgia that can get into an intense meditation series and literally meditate themselves out of sickness. Many times the ailments in our body are a manifestation of our mindset. I'm going to say that one more time. Many times the illnesses in our body are a manifestation of our mindset. So fancy me this. If you could think yourself into the worst case scenario, can you think yourself into the best case scenario? What if I told you that you could live out your dreams and feel them today? You don't have to wait until you actually achieve them to visualize, feel it, and trigger happy chemicals today that trigger better health, better mindset, better outcomes, better life, creating an energy that is excess energy instead of energy sucking, and in consequence, raise your vibration. But it takes work to recognize your hardwired thought patterns that are circuitous about a negative past or a negative future. And that's why I call it practice. And that's why I call it work to rewire your mindset to be an ironclad entrepreneur. So how do you get started? I'm going to share with you guys a little bit of what I'm doing, but for sure, go check out the book by Dr. Joe Dispenza called Becoming Supernatural. So how do you get started? Changing your conscious thoughts starts with some meditation, but I also would venture to say being cognizant, even before meditation, if you're like, I don't know how to meditate, I don't know how to get started, you can actually begin your practice with being cognizant of your awareness of where your head is going when you start to spiral into worry, into worst case scenarios, into something bad that happened in the past or a concern about something in the future. I've gotten really good at this, but it took a lot of time. When you catch yourself, especially when it's like downtime, like when I'm showering, it's like quiet, your mind starts to go in different places. And if you start to spiral about something that you're nervous about, it's okay to be nervous. Nervous is good, but we need to take that nervous energy and direct it in a positive direction, not a negative direction. So this morning when I was showering and I'm like, oh my gosh, we've got 700 people registered for our workshop. Are we going to have the right clients in the workshop? Are the right people going to convert to sales? Is it, oh my gosh, that email I got from Facebook this morning, what if they lock my account? And I caught myself and I said, Melissa, you're worrying about a future that doesn't exist. Instead of living in this moment right now, first of all, embrace you have this beautiful shower, time to yourself, running water, because 2 weeks ago, our septic was backed up, right? It's the little things. And then after appreciating the actual moment that I'm in, asking myself, what's the best case scenario? What would the best case look like? While taking some deep breaths, I visualize a massive audience of ideal clients on Monday morning, raving about the content we're putting out, opening cart with the highest number of enrollments we've ever seen because of the influx of online entrepreneurship and people interested in generating organic leads on LinkedIn. And within 2 minutes, I'd gone from a worried state, heart rate up, short breaths, to a relaxed, excited, and energetic state, looking forward to the next week. Now, that's just catching yourself in the moment, right? Let's get into some kind of guided ways to visualize and meditate. You can start by just journaling your desired future state. If there's this one thing you keep circling around to that you're just really nervous about, can you commit to believing a different future through this guided practice of meditation with prepared thoughts of your future? So you can combine this elevated emotion of what it feels like. We're going to talk about this in a minute, and the intention to literally change your biological state because you've thought through the best case scenario. So I challenge all of you listening today, for something that you're circling around that's causing you a lot of stress, I want you to journal two different things. It's called intention and emotion. The problem with visualizations is a lot of people just visualize, but they don't actually make space to feel the experience. And it's this multidimensional experience that imprints on our brain and creates memory that propels us forward. So let me share with you what I mean. When you're thinking about whatever it is you're stressing about, I want you to think about two things. Intention. So what does the best case scenario look like if you intended it to be successful? What would it look like? 6-figure launch, high close rate on the first day, engaged audience, right? Emotion. Here's the piece a lot of people miss with their visualizations. What does it feel like in the moment? Be in that 3-dimensional space and elicit those chemical responses in your body. It feels like I hop on the Zoom on Monday and there's 180 people on the Zoom line. I can see all their faces. They're so engaged. They're eager to learn. I'm feeling energetic because my audience is energetic. We open cart. The sales are flying in. I'm taking consult calls and I'm loving interacting with all these new potential clients. My team is on fire. The energy is so high. These people we're bringing in are so excited about their businesses and their future. The numbers are soaring with our sales. I feel gratitude. I feel full. I feel happy. I feel warm. I feel secure. Do you see how those words tied to emotion take you a whole other step than just what you see in your eyes? If you can tie emotion, ask yourself, how will it feel? This is where you get to live your future in your mind today. I promise you, you can. If you can live a negative past or worry about a negative future in your mind and elicit a jacked up heart rate, short breaths, chronic fatigue, chronic illness by thinking about negative, I guarantee you can elicit positive emotion and positive health and live in your future today by closing your eyes and working through what I just talked about, creating new neuronal pathways that your brain will remember and gravitate towards on a daily basis, raising your energy, attracting high energy, driving results you desire. So I create protected time for meditations. I journal every morning, even if it's for 5 minutes, and I journal what I want to focus on. And you can teach your body emotionally what your future will feel like ahead of the actual experience. Feeling it, seeing it, creating new neuronal pathways that we just talked about in memory, that new cascade of positive emotional chemical responses, increasing blood flow, enhancing creativity, enhancing productivity, and results in health. Okay. A really great guided meditation for what we just talked about. If you guys go to YouTube You can go to Tuning Into New Potentials by Joe Dispenza. There's a couple of different versions of it. My actual favorite version is not by him. It's like a 35-minute one instead of his 11-minute one, that gives you even more and more space to visualize and dream, right? But play with it. There's days where I do the 11-minute because I don't have time for 25 or 35, right? Okay. So the last thing I just want to hit on here from a science perspective is, let's talk about the epigenetics. Elevated emotions that we just talked about eliciting. This is what I want to wrap up on. Love, joy, gratitude, inspiration, compassion, freedom. They're all a signal of new gene expression, creating those healthy proteins to support body's function and also equate to a higher energy state, because you're not in fight or flight. You're not shunting blood. You're not triggering adrenaline. Your body's not freaking the F out about protecting itself. It's open, ready to receive, high in energy. You're no longer in the fight or flight crisis mode. The chemical cascade and trigger of gene expression is completely different. You're not trying to survive anymore. You've trained your brain to thrive and roll with the emotions. You can move through any emotion in 90 seconds if you can work on mindset, thought patterns, and breath work. But many of us are addicted to the negative mindset that sucks us in, and we're surrounded by others who do the same, right? That's a whole nother conversation. But here's the thing. Elevated emotions result in a clear head to be creative, the ability to adapt and produce by embracing new elevated emotions greater than embracing emotions of negative fear, right? So I want you guys to think back to, I started with negative fear with the email, but I didn't let it take me over. I embraced new elevated emotions that pulled me out of circling the drain, stopping the cascade of events that could have triggered my body physiologically and triggering genes to turn me in the wrong way for the day, for the week, for the month, right? But I chose elevated emotions greater than embracing those emotions of negative fear, turning on genes of health and raising energetic vibration, showing up to my team call that morning full of energy and excitement, to excite them in a ripple effect to move them forward in business this week, instead of coming to them with negativity, fear, desperation, and scarcity of what could happen. It's a ripple effect, right? We need to practice embodying new emotions before the experience happens, changing your genetic expression and aligning your new body to the biologically aligned to your new future. Okay. If this type of content is your jam, you've got to check out Becoming Supernatural. I've said it 3 or 4 times. I am so fascinated at this work right now. It's been a game changer for me. I have worked on many different scenarios that I wanted to work through with a more positive outcome. And through focusing on them and meditating on them, every single one of them I have manifested, from negotiating high-ticket clients and contracts to negotiating legal contracts to manifesting exactly $100,000 in 1 month is exactly what I needed. And it's what I came up with because I focused on it. And I knew, tuning into those potentials, it was available to me. It's all available to you. You have to be open to receive and feel and embrace the new emotions of a new life, of a new opportunity. With that, I can't wait to see you guys on the back end in our next podcast. Thanks for listening to the Burnout to All Out podcast. For free resources, materials, or information on my coaching services, go ahead over to livethefreelife.co. That's livethefreelife.co. or check out our Facebook community at Burnout to All Out, and make sure you follow Burnout to All Out on Spotify and subscribe to iTunes. And it would truly mean the world to me if you paused for just a second, gave me that 5-star review of the show, and be sure to share this episode with any burnouts you think would be inspired to go all out after hearing this episode.